So let me get to the source of this story. This was a pretty amazing story over at Raw Story. Let's see here. It was Ari Melber, and he was interviewing the New York Observer's editor-in-chief, Elizabeth Spears, the former editor-in-chief. Now, the New York Observer is the newspaper that Jared Kushner bought. You will recall some time back there was a news story where, as his father was going off to prison, another billionaire friend of theirs took Jared aside. Jared was a younger man then, and said, "Here's what you need to do, son. You need to marry a wealthy woman who has prominence and class, who can kind of clean up your act. You need to jump into the real estate business, and you need to buy a newspaper." And so he bought the New York Observer. He bought 666 Fifth Avenue, and apparently had paid twice as much for it as he's supposed to, and apparently he's trying to get the Russian banks to help finance it. And he married Ivanka Trump. So he took that advice, and this is his former editor-in-chief talking about Jared Kushner, talking about his father-in-law not believing in the whole birther thing. Here it is.
I want to read something you wrote about the birtherism that you said at the time that Donald Trump was talking about Obama being born abroad. Quote, "I told Jared I was particularly appalled by his father-in-law's birtherism stance, which I viewed as cynical and racist. He rolled his eyes and said, he doesn't really believe it, Elizabeth. He just knows Republicans are stupid and they'll buy it." Yeah. He really said that to you?
Yeah.
And what did that tell you about Jared Kushner's view of Donald Trump's Republican politics?
Well, I think it told me something about both of them.
Yeah, you think? You got a couple of con artists in the White House. I mean, and the connies are the Republican Party. I mean, when are people going to wake up? There are some ideas that are healthy. There are some ideas that are toxic. I think the Renaissance, I think the Enlightenment, I think democracy, American democracy, it was very somewhat poorly implemented in the early stages. But, we've gotten better over the years. I think these are healthy ideas. I think egalitarianism is a healthy idea. I think the idea that, everybody should have equal opportunity in this land is a healthy idea. I think the idea that the simple fact of your humanity, regardless of your physical or mental abilities, should mean that you're entitled to a life that is at least, livable in the United States. You shouldn't be homeless. You shouldn't be without health care. You shouldn't be without food. I mean, and you shouldn't be without education. These should be fundamental rights. Franklin Roosevelt wanted to amend the Constitution of the United States and add these four things as a new Bill of Rights. But you're not going to find that, those are the positive ideas. But over on the Republican side, you've got these negative ideas of, as Maggie Thatcher said, there's no such thing as society. There's only a collection of individuals. And now we're hearing that the Trump administration's worldview is there's no such thing as a global society. There are nations competing for advantage. This was a quote from, I believe, Mr. McMaster, his national security guy. And if that's the case, then Ayn Rand has taken over the White House. And that's not a good thing. That's a very scary thing. So anyhow, we've covered a lot of territory here. We'll see how this thing plays out with the privatizing of air traffic control. We'll see how it plays out with what's going on in Qatar right now. I think that has more to do with Al Jazeera than anything else, but I'm not an expert in that region. That's just my relatively informed. I'm surprised it doesn't have more legs. It's like if Hillary Clinton had confided in a friend that she thought Democratic voters were stupid, it would be at the top of Drudge. It would be all day. It would be plastered all over Fox News. It would probably even be plastered all over CNN and MSNBC. But the fact that Jared Kushner told his coworkers that Trump knew that birtherism was a lie, but the Republicans were stupid and they'll still buy it, is getting virtually no press in the United States. It's pretty astonishing to me.